Rey has been a powerhouse in 3v3 since she first came out. Whether you're a Kylo owner who feels forced to hold him for offense, or you're behind on Galactic Legends altogether, facing Rey can often feel frustrating. Over the course of this Grand Arena season, I've had a lot of chances to practice and refine a technique that allows you to take out Rey teams without having to spend major characters. It works against all but the most expensive Rey team comps imaginable, without impacting your roster or requiring particularly expensive characters. You can confidently post your Galactic Legends and Jedi Luke on defense without the risk of being punished. The trade-off is you're losing banners from the setup it takes. Whether you want to prioritize higher overall banners or a more intimidating defense is up to you, but having this option puts the strategic choice back in your hands. This boils down to a simple 3-step approach. First, you need to know how to set up Rey correctly. As far as I'm aware, the only team that can kill Rey from scratch in one battle is Supreme Leader Kylo. If you don't have Kylo, or if you want to post him on defense, you're looking at a multiple attack approach automatically. Instead of flinging your roster against a wall, let's switch to a more calculated approach. Most of you should have a roster of characters sitting at extremely low gear and levels, unused. This is to our benefit, and will serve as the tools that weaken the foundation. The purpose of using the weakest characters possible is twofold. First, it makes it much easier to count hits going in, knowing that everyone will die in one hit. Secondly, it also denies Chewie the chance to assist if you're fighting against a Rey Han Chewie team, effectively denying Rey some healing potential. There's a general rhythm to how Rey works, working in blocks of 25% of her health. When she's at or above 50% health, she will always use her heal unless her whirlwind is available. If she's below 50% health, she will always use her basic, healing her for roughly 5% of her health per attack. The target of this technique is to bring Rey as close to 25% health as we can get. 25% is the lowest she's able to reduce herself to, and buys us the most time without her being able to use lifeblood to keep one of her allies alive. Let's say we have this Rey we need to kill. Her first 3 turns will be 2 lifeblood and then a whirlwind, which doesn't heal her at all. From there, depending on her supporting cast, she only needs to cast her heal one more time in order for her to be set up ideally, and we need to die before the end of her next turn to park her near 25%. Note that she can kill you with her basic on the next turn, and she won't receive her lead's heal as long as her basic ends the fight, which helps make this setup much less tedious. In the case of Han and Chewie, there are a few wrinkles added into the process of setting Rey up properly. First, Han will remove a character at the start of the fight, meaning we need to add an extra body from what the expected hit count would need. On top of that, Chewie will assist Rey when she uses lifeblood, effectively turning it into a move that will also kill a unit. Lastly, Chewie's attacks and assist heal her, meaning that a bit more finesse is required for setup. It will take you more attempts, sometimes many more, but the end result is still the same, although you're more likely to finish it with a Chewie assist than a Rey basic. Make sure you're being careful about who you throw in front. Here's a perfect example of where I had the absolute perfect preload setup, but the characters I sent in were a bit too beefy because I was getting impatient against Han and Chewie, which caused an extra hit to be required before the fight ended, giving Rey some extra health. I ultimately had to go another full cycle of setup to get her to where I wanted. So, now you should have a pile of dead bodies on your end, and a Rey that's looking pretty juicy on their end. What next? The first team we've got here is Vader lead with Bastila Shan Fallen and Watt. Not exactly the most revolutionary team, but we're looking for a bit of a different modding setup than you might be used to, in order to deal with the most Rey configurations possible. The first thing we need to address is turn order. Watt serves an important role, and against Rey teams with Han, his bonus turn both acts as a self-cleanse for Han's stun, or gives him a chance to cleanse other allies, so we need to run him fastest to give him a second turn. Because of the weapon tech, however, we need the gap between Watt and Bastila to be as narrow as possible, preferably 1 speed, to ensure that an enemy character won't go before Bastila and bump Vader up in the turn order. Beyond that, just give him as many protection primaries as you can fit, and a defense set to pair with the speed set would also be ideal here. He tends to take a lot of heat from most characters I've fought against and often gets focused down, so we want to give him that extra bulk to stay alive if we can afford it. You can still snipe a character if Wat gets killed early, but most of the time it means that Vader won't be able to take out both side characters in this attack, and you'll have to snipe the other character with a team like Geo's. Next up is of course Bastila Shan Fallen. Her debuff soup provides an excellent damage boost to Vader's Culling Toss, potency for his own debuffs, and a wide variety of other benefits. All we care about here is that she goes before Darth Vader does, and brings enough potency that she can land her debuffs on mix-up characters like a high tenacity Malak. Lastly is Darth Vader. Here it's a wreck shop, and that's about it. Crit damage set with about 245 to 260 speed, a hard target of 75% crit chance, and as much potency as you can stick on him. Because Bastila is giving him potency, don't stress too much on it, but it's worth adding if you can. The play-by-play is pretty simple as well. Since the enemy team has so much extra turn meter from the preload, avoid giving Vader the weapon tech immediately, otherwise you'll throw him ahead in the turn order without Bastila's homemade debuff soup. On his second turn, give Vader the weapon tech, have Bastila throw out her debuffs, and activate Massacre on Vader. Take a look at how Bastila's debuffs landed on the enemy team. If you see your snipe target has fear on them instead of the extra debuffs, we need to start the chain off with Vader's AoE, targeting Rey so that we can pop the fear and get our extra damage. If the extra debuffs are already there, I recommend going immediately for the Cole. The extra turns we'll take after the fact will help bring it back around for the second kill sooner. And that extra boost will help a lot since we have less targets to reset turns on. Lay out your debuffs and go back around the horn, and go for the Cole on the other target when you can to kill them. Even if they cleansed off Bastila's debuffs, the extra dots we've been making with Wat will help secure the kill. Accept your death in the inescapable wave of Rey's ultimate, and get ready for phase 3. Before you dive in with the last team, repeat step 1 as needed to bring her back down near 25% health again. She'll gain 40% protection per attack, but don't sweat it here. Even if she's back to 100% protection, it's never stopped this finishing team. Last, but certainly not least, is the deceptively scrappy Double Fin Poe combo. Seemingly everybody's favorite for defense at the moment. This team has never failed to headhunt down an enemy Rey for me. There isn't a lot specific to the modding beyond giving the resistance heroes crit damage and offense focus, with sets for crit chance and damage, and a crit damage triangle. Their speed just needs to be above half of Rey's, since her turn meter will always be at 0 at the start of a fight. Aim for around 270 to 290 if you want to be safe. Resistance hero Finn also needs to be faster than Poe here. For OG Finn's modding, just give him whatever tank stats you feel like. The more defense you give him, the less lifesteal Rey will receive, so just toss on some defense sets and some health or protection primaries and you'll be set. Don't worry about his lead Zeta. Because Rey uses her basic every turn, she'll cleanse it off before it does anything useful for you. The play-by-play for this kill team ends up being extremely simple. Lead off with Resistance Hero Finn's rotation, but make sure to use Poe's first special instead of his second. The higher damage value is what officially dooms Rey out of being able to reach past 50% health and begins her downward spiral. OG Finn should pop his taunt move first, as the defense up combined with the crit avoidance from the other Finn ensures that Rey will barely heal off of hitting him at all. Keep drilling her with all of your cooldowns and victory will come surprisingly easy. That's it. No epic, legendary, or journey characters used, just some good old-fashioned setup and execution. There's a similar technique I've been working on to free up Jedi Luke from being on Kylo duty, since Luke lead alongside Rey has been absolutely tearing it up on defense this Grand Arena season for me. We're 9 rounds in and only one person has managed to break my bottom front wall. The end goal that I'm shooting for here is to be able to post both Galactic Legends as well as Luke lead on defense, creating a terrifying wall for most people to run into. The shock value of watching themselves get full cleared despite the heavy defense will hopefully be even spicier. Take what you learned here, get out into the arena, and happy hunting.